Well, it's been a while since I've made a video. But, I can't help but do this comparison in my head about what we thought the United States was, what they teach you in grade school and through high school. And then you step out into the big world and you find out it ain't nothing like they teach you, okay? Because bottom line, we have no fucking rights here in this country. There's 330 million people, allegedly, okay? We know their numbers are wrong. I would say they're grossly understated in the United States. They have no true mechanism whatsoever for capturing the true census of this country. And of those 330 million estimated, there's 18 million government employees running our fucking lives and destroying anything we try to do for ourselves. So I was reading this news. It's old news, okay? There's a couple articles, and it all plays hand in hand. And I'll put links to what I'm talking about in my description. But basically, in a nutshell, it's something like this. And before I get into that, let's just remind ourselves that all of these channels and avenues of taxation, because we are taxed on every single thing that we do, that we purchase. I mean, like literally, there will be in the future a tax on the air that we breathe, okay? That's how fucking ridiculous the United States is. So we were led to believe that all the reason for taxation is for the betterment of the good. That the government shall never use tax dollars collected or received for things that are not for the betterment of the good, meaning it cannot be self-serving in nature. It is to be used for the people who are contributing. We assume everybody contributes, which they do. Even if you make a purchase in a taxable state like New York, we're all contributing on those tax lines. Some more than others, but we're all contributing, okay? So any influxing of taxes into a community, it's supposed to go towards the betterment of the good, not the self-serving, self-centered, overblown egos of government employees, okay? And nowhere was it ever said or believed that the government has the right to recoup dollars that they receive through taxation by suing people to increase their little pot of gold, okay? It's not even supposed to work like that, but it is. I like to use Livingston County, New York, as my primary example of pure, ridden, fucking evil people doing nothing good but evil, evil, evil. Those people are fucking evil, okay? Anybody that would do the shit they did to me and my kids for the number of years, not never ending, non-stop shit they did to us, and leave us stranded on the streets with not even a family photo intact. They're fucking evil, man. Those people are pure, ridden, fucking evil. And if they're evil now, then they get a long history of family members. I don't give a shit if they're fucking sitting in a grave somewhere. They were all fucking evil at one point in time. Nobody should be doing the stuff they do to people. So this is like it all goes back to the time frame like 2017, I guess. So all these counties are joining in on this lawsuit. They're gonna sue the opiate manufacturer because they have had to, and I'm going to put the links in my description. You got to look at this stuff. Everything is hand in hand, okay? They're going to sue these opiate manufacturers, drug manufacturers, because of their expenses related to law enforcement, case management, family issue services, or whatever. And then later on, they actually get the money. Okay, so they sue, they get the money, and so Livingston County's like getting like $1 million out of the settlement, and so they put their little garbage garbage in there that although this money will never replace, the people that were lost through suicide and drug addiction, blah blah blah. It's going to go towards these, they're hoping it goes towards prevention. Anytime a government entity uses prevention and there's dollars attached, that's your like wide opening signal. They're going to increase the traffic flow of opiate use in their community because by increasing the numbers, they're going to get more dollars passed to them. Mark my fucking word. It worked the same way with military veterans. Pushing military veterans on the lines of suicide, getting them to kill themselves so they can populate graveyards like the one that's right around the corner where I'm sitting right now. That only means more funding to those communities. It has nothing to do with decreasing the number of people that eventually take their own lives. It has everything to do with pushing more tax dollars into a community, which goes to fluff up the salaries of government employees. It has nothing to do with the betterment of the good, okay? So, they announce they're going to join this lawsuit and sue be part of the lawsuit to sue the opiate manufacturers. Then they get the money, and then, they're going to, allegedly, they're going to put it towards these prevention avenues. But if you look back at the earlier article, it clearly says their comments are, they'd like to recoup the expenses associated with prior law enforcement efforts and whatnot. So basically, they have no vested interest in correcting the problem. They just want to cover their expenses, but their expenses were previously covered by the taxpayers. Okay, so that's where this is their revenue. Okay, so if taxpayers already covered those things that did not get proper attention, now these people are getting additional dollars on top of that. That's like a bonus, okay? That's just going to go in their pocket. But the interesting thing, and I'm going to put a link to this as well. I can't remember the kid's name. I mean, it will be in the link. But so he completes this drug program on November 1st. I think it was 2017, the same year that they decided to join this lawsuit. The next day, they claim that he drives into Rochester with his to-be future brother-in-law, and they buy fentanyl and all this other stuff, and they get piped up basically in Rochester. They're driving back through Livingston County, which all of this does not even make sense. Nobody in their right fucking mind or even in their fucked up mind would do this shit, okay? So it's like, it's a made up story. So the following day, they're coming back from Rochester. Apparently, they're driving erratically, and somebody calls 911 and, has them basically pulled over and get arrested by the cops. So the brother-in-law is, I mean, like, if you look at it realistically, if this really did happen, the future brother-in-law is basically signaling the cop by telling them that he's got drugs and shit in his socks. And so they don't inspect the other guy that ends up getting arrested for the same, like, look in the same fucking location. They don't do it. Anyways, they take him into jail, and the following day, I guess he did something in the, uh, while they were transporting him. He took something from his person. And so the following day, anyways, he ends up dead in Livingston County Jail. And so his fiance makes attempts to sue the county by filing a complaint. And Livingston County says, well, there's no liability on our part. Bull fucking shit. Bull fucking shit. Here's where the liability, just to educate you people moving forward, here's the liability piece right here, okay? As soon as they pick you up, it's called, prior to them picking you up, it's called freedom of movement, okay? And once they pick you up and they take you into custody where you no longer have freedom of movement, you become a ward of the county, thus of the state. And once you or anyone else is in the hands of the county or any government hands, the liability shifts from what could occur without government interaction on any street where a private lawsuit for any injuries, blah, 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 could take place. And it shifts. So once they take you into custody, you are then basically on a different road, okay? So 1 minute you're on a road and it's, like, let's just say it's the freedom road, okay? But once they pluck you off that freedom road and they put you on this other road with all these restraints, that's where the liability comes into play. Because there's a shift. Even if you're on the road of freedom, there's a potential for liability out there based on risk and circumstances. But once they pluck you off the street, they snatch you. Guess what? You're immediately under the ward and in the custody of the government. And so they are liable. Not only that, if his brother-in-law was signaling, basically saying, oh yeah, I got drugs in my socks, and the nincompoops didn't say, oh, well, if he's got drugs in his socks, then chances are the other guy's got drugs in his socks too. Let's check out his socks. Well, they didn't check out his socks. And they transported him. And guess what? He died. So guess what? Yeah, Livingston County, you're fucking liable. That's the establishment of liability. And then furthermore, since this all took place in 2017 and then joining your little lawsuit for the opiate manufacturers to cover your costs, isn't that the cost you're covering? This lawsuit where a death occurred There's no prevention dollars moving forward. Fuck, you want your fucking numbers to increase. Then you can justify more fucking tax dollars by increasing property taxes and all that other fucking shit you do. It's so it's so fucked up the United States is. Have you ever known the United States to ever decrease taxes, pay off the national debt, bring prices back in alignment where they should be? Fuck no, not in this lifetime. I've never seen that shit. I'll put the links in the description. Check it out. It's how they cover themselves. So ridiculous. Something's got to change. It's not really going to improve our current situation. People that have already lived through this fucking nightmare. But you know something? If we can be the people, because they're not the people that are going to change the future, if we can do something to impact something to a large degree to change the future for other people so they don't have to deal with the fucking shit we have dealt with in this lifetime, then let's do it. Including, let's fucking tax strike. What are they going to do? You're going to try to imprison 300 million people? I think not. And in and amongst those 300 million people, we have truck drivers that can shut this fucking country right the fuck down. I say a tax strike is in order because none of us consented to the government getting so fucking meddly involved in our personal lives where they take away everything from us. We have no livelihood. We have no quality of life. Looking behind our shoulders at all times. That's so fucking ridiculous. Taking people's everything from them. Like, where do they stop? I say tax strike. I'm I'm planting the seed, okay? This country, the United States, people need to strike. I don't give a fuck if you walk into a store. The stores need to start thinking about it now. You're charging me $9.99. Here it is. You can carry the cost of those fucking taxes because we don't consent to the use of it.